When I first got out of residency, fats were villainized. And it was really interesting because I never agreed with that. I actually was a big fan of including fat in the diet. But at the time when I got out of residency, people were fat phobic. They were mostly overindulging in carbohydrates. And so what I've noticed over 25 years of medical practice is that kind of recommendations about macronutrient ratios in the diet has really shifted over time. And it's confusing to the individual. But what I have always felt is that fat is an essential part of our diet. And it's very important to include fat in your diet because of many reasons. One, fat lines your cell membranes, and your cell membranes are literally like the brain of your cell. And the fats in the membrane have a vibratory quality that allow our cells, like particularly like the neurons in the brain, to act like vibratory oscillators. And that allows them to function more in the capacity of like a radio transmitter, radio receiver of information. So the fats are a vital component of that. You also need fat as the building blocks for your steroid hormones. So if you're depriving yourself of fats, you're not going to be able to produce enough pregnenonline, DHEA, testosterone, estrodiol, progesterone, cortisol. The other thing is that if you don't eat enough fat, your body will forget how to burn fat as fuel, and will only burn carbohydrates as fuel. And that becomes an issue because people will store excess carbohydrates as fat, but then the body is not very good at burning that. So ideally, we want to maintain metabolic flexibility, the ability to burn both carbs and fats for fuel. And you need to include fat in your diet in order to remind your body how to do that. Now, people have asked, like, should you eat fat and carbs in the same meal? Not usually. I actually am a big fan of cycling in and out of ketosis. So, or on and off a ketogenic diet. So I like to spend part of my week where I'm primarily ingesting fat, protein, and vegetables. And then I like to have a couple days where I include more carbohydrates, such as fruit, root vegetables, and grains. And that way I feel like I keep my body flexible. So I can burn both fat for fuel and go into ketosis pretty easily, and then flip into remembering how to burn carbs as fuel. Now, if I lose that, then my body becomes very carbohydrate sensitive, and I end up producing too much fluid retention in the body from carbohydrates. So ideally, you're not combining these macronutrients together too much, but of course, you're going to have a little carbs with everything you eat, but you're going to try to kind of stack your macronutrients in one direction or the other on a particular day. Now, I know that sounds confusing, but carb cycling is something to read about, and I'll try to talk more about that in the coming days.